This show is made possible by the generous support of listeners just like you. Our show is about helping souls grow, prosper, and evolve, and every gift ensures that we can continue to do this. So we thank our generous supporters and also ask if you would like to be a part of supporting this important effort to bring this message of truth to the world. Please consider heading to experienceofthesoul.com/support to be a part of supporting us by being a regular patron or making a one-time gift. Blessings on the journey, dear friend.
Zen Living Realty, Supportek Staffing, and Center for the Healing Arts present The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly show featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 142, MC Yogi. And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to The Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host, and I'm here in 818 Studios with my producer.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Croft. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 142 of The Authentic Spiritual Journey. As always, I want to welcome you to the week. Happy Monday. And we are so close to springtime. Of course, here in Orlando, it's kind of perpetually spring. I mean, I've been wearing flip-flops for 2 months, so
I know it's ridiculously nice.
But thank you so much for joining us for today's episode.
Yeah, today is a great day. We have with us Mr. MC Yogi. Thank you for joining us, man. We're so glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to meet you both and to be sharing some time and space together.
Yes, very good, very good. Well, it should be a great show. MC Yogi, you don't know this yet, but one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show is that I've recommended your music to, literally thousands and thousands of people. In my online courses, we often use one of your tracks to do some reverse nostril breathing. I start all my courses with some deep breathing techniques to get us all centered in the moment. And some of your music is really great for that. Although I first came into your music through your first album, which was Elephant Power, right?
Yeah, 2007 or 8, I think that came out.
Yeah. Yeah, well, our listeners love to hear, a little bit about, I'm sure they will love to hear a little bit about your journey. And I want you to feel free to talk about your book, which I actually have here, Spiritual Graffiti. I'll be honest, I read it in one sitting. I loved it. I read it start to finish. I took a whole day, and it's a great story about your journey. And I'm sure you're in a different place now, even than when you wrote it.
Yeah.
Because I've followed your path, and you're really expanding. I also know you do a lot for the community. So anyway, I'm glad you're with us, and would love to hear a little bit about your journey and how you did get to where you are. So just tell us a little bit, if you will, about your beginnings, because I think you kind of fell into spirituality a little bit, didn't you?
I did. My story begins, as far as I can remember, as I was inside of an egg, and I started to hear this drum beat, and it turned out to be my mother's heartbeat. And I think it started out the same way we all do, and fell into this world, and had a really kind of a roller coaster sort of experience growing up. I had a lot of fun. Started to get into a lot of trouble. Was kind of labeled a juvenile delinquent, and got into graffiti at a young age. I started painting walls and trains when I was like 11 or 12. Started doing drugs and running around, just kind of being wild, young, and free. And got arrested a bunch of times and ended up living in a group home for about 2.5, 3 years. And then after I graduated that program, because I'd been kicked out of, I think, 3 or 4 schools. And once I left that program, I actually fell into yoga thanks to my father, who'd been studying yoga with his teacher, who his name was Larry, who used to travel and teach yoga to the Grateful Dead. And when I started practicing yoga, everything started to unravel and unfold internally. It seemed that I'd found the thing that I'd been looking for my whole life, because there was no sort of heavy residue of a hangover, or it was just like this beautiful, sustainable thing that I could do. I could sit, I could meditate. It led me on this path, traveling to India many times and studying with incredible teachers and meeting just incredible people. And it really opened up these doors inside of me, which subsequently opened up all these doors around me. And then I put out a couple records. I'd been making music the whole time, from when I was really young. My dad had a stack of records. He was a big fan of, his record collection was like Crosby, Stills and Nash, Isaac Hayes, Tower of Power, Diana Ross. I mean, he had so many great records, and I would put the records on the turntable and try to scratch him when I was really young. He didn't like that too much, but the music was always like a great backdrop and soundtrack to my life. And I grew up, listening to really early on, listening to, Chuck Berry and the Beach Boys and James Brown. And I really got heavy into the Beatles and the Doors, and kind of went on that psychedelic ride. And then hip hop was just really rising when I was young. And my brother and I, my brother's a DJ, and we used to, put on events and go to house parties, and, people were putting out mixtapes, and friends were breakdancing or painting graffiti. And it was just a real vibrant scene in the Bay Area. And it was just right at that time when I was sort of coming of age. So I was really immersed in that. And then when I discovered yoga, these kind of worlds started to coalesce and come together, and music and spirituality, and it all started to sort of stir. And then the book sort of begins with me standing on a stage in front of, I think it was like 20,000 kids at this festival, and just the nerves and the butterflies performing in front of this massive audience. And then from that sort of precipice on the edge of that stage, looking at this sea of kids and getting ready to perform that first song, then I kind of flash back to everything that led to me getting to that place. And it was a fun book to read, because it was like a psychedelic flashback, just kind of sort of reviewing everything that happened leading up to that moment, and all the people who kind of helped and supported and encouraged me. And it's been sort of a wild sort of roller coaster ride ever since. And it continues, because even with the lockdown and everything, like the inner practice of meditation and doing yoga just continues to open up all these amazing spaces within that, just all new songs coming out and poems. And so just, it's been a cool journey, and I'm really grateful to be able to be on it with you and everyone out there, and just to be kind of on this cool, weird ride.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, MC Yogi, about your journey. And I wanted to ask you too, because, the whole world is in COVID together. And I had a feeling that for you, I bet it was a real creative time. I had talked with East Forest as well recently. And of course, I'm sure COVID-19 has brought so many changes, right, in your career. And, nobody that I know was quite expecting this. How has that been for you?
Well, I think one thing that I learned along the way, just through the practice, is not to resist, to let things kind of happen, and just trust the process. It's going to be bumpy at times. There's going to be highs. There's going to be lows. But having gone through so many kind of tunnels and come out the other end, I just kind of told myself, I had a premonition the year before that I was going to take a year off. So some part of me kind of knew that things were shifting and changing, and that this year was going to be 2020 was going to be different. And then when it hit, and everyone didn't, none of us really knew how long it was going to be, but something kept telling me this is going to be a while, and just
I know, I got that too at the very beginning. I'm like, this is not going away.
Yeah. And so I think it was just rolling with it, and adapting, being flexible. Basically my whole, because I was going, I think there was times I was doing like 30 cities in a year, just traveling and doing events and shows, and just all of that disappeared and went away. And that was my sort of primary, that was my primary sort of workflow. And so I think the yoga really kind of helped prep and prime me, so that I was just less attached, less stuck, and just stay with the practice, stay with the process, keep writing music, poetry, poems, and prayers, because it keeps me in a good state. And then really just doing my best to be present and clear, showing up for my family, friends, and community, and really trying to help everybody else navigate, the changes.
I think it's so important, yeah, that we, realize we are all in this together, and the only thing that's going to make the world better is that kind of cooperation, non-judgment,
Yeah.
acceptance.
Yeah.
And it's so clear that that's what's needed right now. I mean, the world isn't so at large is in so much pain. And one of the reasons I do what I do, with my podcast, with my online courses and speaking and all of those things, is that we want to help people grow their soul. We want to help people prosper and evolve, on the journey. And there are a few simple keys to doing that. And you've already spoken about, a couple of them. And one is just a daily practice that no matter what, you're dialing into spirit and the God of your understanding, and you're doing the work. And I'd love it if you kind of dial in a little bit with what you do in your practice. I talk about my own journey so much, and I try to give people lots of resources, but sometimes we just need new ideas for our practice. Would you mind sharing some of that with the listeners?
Oh, absolutely. And that, so I have, so basically my writing process is I write things down essentially as reminders for myself. And I often sort of structure them as a poem or a rhyme so I can remember it
Hmm.
with a cadence and a rhythm and a pattern, so that when I repeat it over and over again, it gets sort of printed in my body and my nervous system. So it's always there for me whenever I need it. So one of the things that I'm always reminding myself is, and I'm sure you've heard this before, is energy goes where attention flows. What you focus on grows. Stay focused on the soul. Stay focused, stay focused, stay focused. So, what we put our attention on, I have a little saying like, where you set your mind, that will determine your mindset. And what you're focusing on is going to really, your output is really determined by your input. So if you're putting a lot of good stuff in your mind, in your body, in your brain, a lot of good music, conversations on the phone with family and friends, and walking around in nature, looking at the trees and the sky, and just really flooding your mind with beautiful things, then beautiful things have a tendency of coming out of your mouth. um,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes,
And
it's so simple in a way, right? But we forget to do it. And I think part of the reasons is that, there's so much coming at us from all different directions. I'm a big proponent of unplugging, as much as I'm thrilled that people listen to us on their computers and on their phones. I'm the first one to say, you know what? Please unplug, because we can help, we can support, but bottom line, until you do the work of your own soul, you know, I can't help you very much,
yeah, so
So
that's another one is detach in order to reconnect. So
exactly.
unstick from the surface so that we can realign with what's shining in the center. And
Mhm.
there's another little sort of practice I do is in the back of my mind, is I try to keep this prayer wheel turning as much as I can remember to do it. It really creates a super mellow sort of experience and journey for me as I keep repeating until it echoes over and over and over again. Thank you, I love you. 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 And my journey just changes, and
Mhm.
it has a way of affecting the ride. It becomes way smoother, way easier. I hear this feel, I hear this sound like it's okay, everything's okay, everything's okay. Thank you, I love you. Thank you, I love you. Thank you, I
Mhm.
love you. And it really starts to turn my it shifts my perception and what's reflected back to me, and it's really pretty trippy and cool.
Yeah, right. It's amazing, right? Yes, exactly. Wherever we focus, that's what we get. That's what we get more of. And what was reminding me of a couple of your songs, actually, that one, "Breathe Deep." I think that's the name of it, right? "Breathe Deep."
Yeah, yeah,
I'm hearing
breathe
the
deep.
lyrics go in my mind. Um, And so maybe we could do, with your permission, MC Yogi, we could play that for our listeners,
Yeah, for sure.
if that's a good one. But I love that tune. I actually really love the video too. And tell me about that video, if you will, because um, who's in it? About all the Buddhas? Tell us
Hmm.
about that.
Yeah, well, that video was filmed by this amazing photographer and director named Esteban Oriol, who's sort of a legendary photographer in East LA, who's documented um, the Chicano culture, lowrider culture,
Hmm.
um, gang life in East LA. And he's just an amazing guy. He's an incredible eye. And we got together and we filmed that video down in LA at a friend of my friend of mine named Noah, he's got a Buddhist recovery treatment center called Refuge Recovery, and it's a meditation center as well. And then my wife had been commissioned to paint this mural on the side of the building, and it was in Hollywood. And my wife has been on this incredible journey where she's been painting 10,000 Buddhas. I think she's painted almost 15,000 now. And she's painting them all over the world, large scale murals, like 3-4 story buildings. And
yes.
And so one of the cool things in the videos, we got to show her at work, and there's another great street artist named Cryptic who does a lot of spiritual graffiti, and feature him as well.
Oh, yes. Right. I loved all that. I'm glad you're talking about it. Yeah. It's so good.
So yeah, and then there was, and just my community, like a bunch of DJs who I'm good friends with, a producer named Soul Rising, my friend DJ Drez, artist Shri Kala, and this guy Cyber Yogi, who's this incredible break dancer and performer. So it was just kind of a collection of, a bunch of our friends, and we got together with Estevan and just kind of documented sort of a day, making art and practicing together. And so one of the lyrics is, everything in life revolves around the one, sort of like the planets around the solar system. Take a deep breath, fill up my lungs, draw the mind back toward the central sun. It's to that point of what we focus on grows. So the more we focus on the soul, so why breathe deep? Because it helps to reset the nervous system. And one of the breathing practices I do often throughout my day is a 4-count inhale, a 2-count pause, and then a 6-count exhale to lengthen the tail of the exhale, which really softens the nervous system. And then when the nervous system is really soft, when you're not in fight or flight, but you're in a more rest and digest mode, it's so much easier to become more receptive to really seeing omens and signs, and really hearing the song that the universe is singing. And we can really tune and tap into getting, inspiration and wisdom, and receive guidance from within and all around us. But if we're really tense and there's a lot of anxiety, then the walls get really thick, and those messages can't really penetrate.
Right.
So it's really, that practice of just, because as a songwriter, I'm constantly in the process of having to soften, open, and relax so that I can receive the melodies that are coming through. I receive the words, the constellation of rhymes and sentences. And, it's so that for me, as like a wordsmith, I'm sort of constructing, language to transform anguish. So creating sentences to break out of the sentences. So all the bad spells get shattered, and, I can experience being in a deeper, more open, more beautiful space where life becomes more musical. And we all have music inside of us. We all have a drum in our chest. We all have a drummer in our ear. We all have, the string section. I guess those are the hamstrings. But, so it's just about listening. And when we breathe, it really helps us to listen to the natural sounds that are occurring in and around us that are really pleasant and enjoyable, and help us to be calm and relaxed so that we can enjoy our time on earth.
Yes. Well, I want to end this first half with the 4-2-6 count breath. So you said breathe in for 4, hold for 2, and out for 6.
Yep, that's right.
So let's do that together, and then Dave, with your help, we'll go into MC Yogi's song, Breathe Deep.
Breathe deep. Deep breath. Deep breath. Steady the breath, to steady steady the mind. Keep breathing till I feel that light shine. Breathe deep. Deep breath. Everything in life revolves around the one, sort of like the planets in our solar system. Take a deep breath, fill up my lungs, draw the mind back toward the central sun. Breathe deep. Deep breath. Inhale, exhale, to release the stress. Breathe in, I let it seep in through my skin, absorbed in the force as it begins to spin. My mind, turn it back toward the one, a 360-degree revolution. Breathe deep. Deep breath. Inhale, exhale, to release the stress. Deep breath. In this modern day age of misinformation, too much complication over stimulation. We need to ease the stress, yeah, the situation. So I focus on my breath, steady concentration. Steady the breath, to steady the mind. Keep breathing till I feel that light shine. Breathe deep. Deep breath. Steady the breath, to steady the mind. Take a 5-count breath till I feel that light shine. Keep breathing till I feel that light shine. Stay blessed, y'all. Deep breath.
We'll return to the program in just a few moments, but first, we wanted to give a special word of thanks to our podcast partner, Zen Living Realty. Zen Living Realty's mission is to mindfully serve, connect, and positively impact their customers, partners, and community through their Zen approach to real estate. Their vision is to be the most trusted real estate brokerage in the Central Florida area. You can reach Zen Living Realty at zenlivingrealty.com or call 407-800-2717. We'd also like to give a special word of thanks to Supportek Staffing. Supportek Staffing is an innovative staffing agency built on the principle of caring about employers and employees as they navigate these new workforce and workplace challenges. If you're an employer, they want to be your human resource partner and help with the changes needed during the pandemic. If you're a candidate, they want to become your lifelong career agent to help you grow into your fullest potential. Supportek prioritizes support over volume, integrity over profits, and will treat your business and your career as if it was their own. You can learn more at supportekstaffing.com. That's SUPPORTEK staffing.com. And finally, we want to give a special word of thanks to Center for the Healing Arts. Center for the Healing Arts is one of the first dedicated group practices devoted to challenging, supportive, and nurturing therapy. Their dedicated therapists have a wide range of expertise, including relationship and couples therapy, individual therapy, addictions, neurofeedback, play therapy for children, adolescents, and families, and therapy for blended family issues. They also regularly offer day-long intensive workshops for relationships, addiction recovery, adult children of alcoholics, and healing trauma in the LGBTQ+ community. For more information, head over to centerforthehealingarts.com or call 407-657-8555, extension 1. We now return you to this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey with your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
The promised land is in the palm of our hands, not confined by the lines drawn in the sand, buried in flesh, hidden in bone. The kingdom of heaven is embedded in the soul. In order to return and become whole, we must be humble, surrender ego, let go of the future and the past, with the light that shines right through the mask. Illuminate the path, draw the mind back,
oasis. Taste bliss takes our mind to Genesis. Exodus to the space, no nemesis. Fly into the sun like young Icarus. Born to the dust, rise like a phoenix does. To the gates of the kingdom so glorious. Marching forward into love like a warrior does. Return to the one and become victorious.
Illuminate the path, draw the mind back. Illuminate the path, gotta draw the mind back. Illuminate the path, draw the mind back. It's hidden in this moment, very right where we're at. When the mind is clear, 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 heaven is here. When the mind is clear, 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 into love, I dissolve my fears, I dissolve my fears, into love. Illuminate the path, gotta draw the mind back. Illuminate the path, gotta draw the mind back. Illuminate the path, draw the mind back. It's hidden in this moment, very right where you're at. The promised land is not found on a map. Gotta draw the mind back. Pull out of the trap, move back, retract, make direct contact. It's hidden in this moment, very right where you're at. Lost in a strange land, caught up in this game plan. Trying to find my way back to the train station. Looking outside, but it's not a place, man. It's a state of mind. Graceland. Heaven is here. When the mind is clear, 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 heaven is here. When the mind is clear, 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 into love. I dissolve my fears, I dissolve my fears, into love. Illuminate the path, gotta draw the mind back. Illuminate the path, gotta draw the mind back. Illuminate the path, draw the mind back. It's hidden in this moment, very right where you're at. Illuminate the path, gotta draw the mind back. Illuminate the path, gotta draw the mind back. Illuminate the path, draw the mind back. It's hidden in this moment, very right where you're at.
Welcome back. We're glad you're with us. And Dave is with us in the studio. He's quieter today because we've got MC Yogi in the studio with us.
I'm just soaking it all in, especially as a fellow, composer, producer,
Exactly.
and EDM and yeah, I'm way into it.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, at the break, we were talking about the many songs and albums of MC Yogi that I'm totally queer for, and we were talking about several of the ones that I use in my spiritual practice, and I tell you, some of these, when I was looking MC Yogi at the numbers on your Spotify, I was like, well, at least 365 of those are mine because of using your music so much in my daily practice and also recommending it in my courses. I was explaining at the break to MC Yogi that so often before my courses, I have these playlists for people to listen to as they're waiting to come into class because everything's virtual. And as a part of their meditation work, I also share my playlist. Mm-hmm. And of course, I've got I've got East Forest, a lot of great artists that that get recommended. So I'm sure I've literally recommended your music to hundreds of thousands.
And
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll be doing it today because you'll be able to find links to the music that we're playing as well as everything you'd ever want to know about MC Yogi at our show notes. Be sure to click on the show for today, March 8th, 2021, episode 142.
Yeah, I will say too, I think the most used track of MC Yogi in my courses is the Shanti Peace Out. And I wanted to ask you about that track because it was so unlike most of what was on Elephant Power that I thought, I wonder if he just put that on there as a tag and I'm just going to put it on there. Or was there a real intention? What was it? If there was a story around that track, because I love it. It's the one I use to do my breathing work because it's really etheric, it's expansive, and I feel like there's room for me in it. There's room for my experience, and it really creates just it helps me touch my ground of being, and it's become an anchor point, for my spiritual process. So I want to lift some of those up because so many of our listeners are all around the world. And MC Yogi, I think I forgot to tell you that, we've only been on for a couple of years, and our listenership has really grown, and it is in like something like 80 plus countries now, all over the world. And I know you're very well known, but I want more and more people to find out about your music, because not only is it cool and it'll bless your life by listening to it, it really could be, an important part of their spiritual practice. So anyway, I'd love to hear a little bit about Shanti Peace Out, if you don't mind telling us about it.
Oh, for sure. Well, that song is like a soft, heavy blanket or quilt that you
Yes.
can place over your mind, and it just softens everything. And it was a real magical experience producing it with my good friends Robin Livingston, Sean Dinsmore. It features a beautiful singer, Rita Sahai, and a beautiful musician from Nepal, Manoj, who plays flute, and my wife is singing. There's just so many friends and family. We all sang on that track together, and it's really a song about peaceful transition, letting go of the shell or the husk of the body and softening into the deep soft sea of our spirit. And it's about dying, essentially. And we put at the end of the record, because oftentimes when you're going through a yoga process or practice, there's shavasana at the end where you just lay everything down, and it's leveling the playing field, so to speak. So, at the end of that journey, you're in bliss, you're in ecstasy, you're in awe. Everything is open, soft, deep, luminous, radiant. And I think that song was just sort of the soundtrack to that experience.
Yeah, well, that is the feeling of it too. And I know we haven't really talked much about your yoga studio that you and your wife co-own. Do you want to mention anything about that? Like, just how have you been handling the studio? And you've got COVID. I'm sure that's been a shift for you there as well.
So I've been basically rolling out of bed in my pajamas and teaching yoga on Zoom, which is pretty amazing. And so our whole studio has gone online. And, I've been teaching every weekend and been offering, actually today is Martin Luther King Jr.'s day. And today we're having a free meditation. Every Monday I've been offering a free meditation during COVID. We sit for about 30 minutes, do a little bit of light yoga, and just to, help set the week off in a good way, in a good tone. And basically the studio, the brick and mortar studio has been on pause. It's been hibernating, and we're just waiting until we can open our doors again. But the doors of the practice have been open the whole time. The online classes have been amazing, and everyone has been just super, super awesome. And I always my favorite part of teaching is I always put together a mixtape for every class, and really try to find some really cool, often obscure, sometimes psychedelic, trippy, beautiful, cool music to listen to in class, and people seem to really enjoy that. So yeah, it's a new experience, but it's, just another part of the unfolding dance here, and we're resuming.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there have been a lot of there's been a lot of ingenuity that's been born during this time out of necessity. And I honestly believe if we were going inward on our own, I'm not sure COVID would have ever happened. Not that it was a judgment. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying consciousness will have its day, and we all need to go inward to contact what's real and what really matters, and then be about living that in the world. And so we've been forced inside, and I really believe in the journey that we have to look at what's happening in the world and ask what is the message for me? What is the spiritual learning from this time? And for me, it's that go inward. I mean, that's what we're all doing. I've had major life and career shifts during this time myself, and all my work is online now. I never dreamed I would love doing it, but I love it. And
yeah, me too, actually.
Yeah, I was really guided late last year to begin to offer courses online in so like over about a year ago, I started offering courses online. And so when COVID hit, I already had all the mechanisms set up. I had all the systems set up. And so I had people, right away, I was able to serve people spiritually. So I was really glad I listened to that, inner guidance. And yeah, it's like a pleasure. It's a blessing. It's less time running around. I'm amazed, right, at how fun it is for me to teach online. And you know, I'm not sure if it were not for COVID, if I ever would have discovered that about myself, to be quite honest. But like I say, I started pre-COVID, but only because I was really guided to. I didn't know why, but once COVID hit, it's like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah, and you were asking me like, what are some of the sort of daily practices?
Mm-hmm.
And I had mentioned that really simple prayer. That I
Yes.
try to keep that tape running. Thank you, I love you. Thank you, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
When I first wake up in the morning, I just become aware of the very first thought I have in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And every morning I try to make the first thought I have, thank you. Thank you for this day. May I be of service. May I, tap in and connect to some good music, practice yoga every day as much as possible. And, my wife and I have a practice where we sit and we chant every morning. And then I become aware of what's the last thought I have at the end of the day. And that is, I love you. So the thank you, I love you carries across the arc of the day. And I think that just, planting that seed in the morning and planting that seed at night,
Mm-hmm.
it just sometimes those tiny little moments,
Mm-hmm.
they can get buried and I can forget about them during the day, but they're always there kind of, teeming underneath the surface. And the more I do that, the more I feel like I'm seeding the field with just all these beautiful prayers. And it has it's subtle, but it has a really profound effect on the way that I, react to social media or the
Yes.
news or all that kind of stuff, because I'm buffering
Mm-hmm.
myself with this inner energy that helps me to process and digest everything going on around me so that I can kind of move it through instead of reacting and pushing it away. So that's the big lesson I've learned is the more you resist, the worse it gets.
Yes.
Don't fight the journey. Don't fight the river. Just relax. And one of the other prayers I use in my own practice is, I am not the dream. I am the dreamer.
Yes.
I am not what's on the scene. I am the seer. And the more I can really soften and rest into that space, then the day becomes way more mellow, way more easy, and way more graceful, because I'm not attaching, identifying, or wrestling with all the stuff that's happening on the surface. I'm relaxing inside the center of my life. And that's been, a real blessing to be able to just keep coming back to that touchstone or that milestone. I guess I'm a milestoner. So I just keep those prayers going. It seems to make the journey and the ride a lot groovier.
Yeah, well, and I love both of those, and I hope our listeners are listening to that. The thank you, I love you is really profound, and it's kind of how I use forgiveness in my life. Forgiveness and gratitude are kind of the two things, I always return back to, and so thank you is a big one for me, and then certainly sending love and gratitude, but I didn't have it as a mantra the way you did. And I love that. And I love the other one is you said, I am not
the dream. I am the dreamer.
Mm-hmm.
And that just helps me to relax in the self.
Yes.
And allow everything, it's almost like, it's hard to explain. The person who has probably been one of the sort of the most sort of pivotal, paramount presences in my life personally, who's really affected me and really shifted my perception, is someone that I encountered when I was recording a record in India, and I traveled to the place where he lived in a cave on this hill in South India, and his name was Sri Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. He was one of the greatest saints of the modern era in India. And Ramana has he was really, he didn't give a lot of teachings. He didn't have a guru himself. He wasn't into the whole guru trip, but he had ripened and become awakened in the dream, self-realized. And that was sort of, I'll share with you this beautiful quote that one of the things, because people would ask him questions and just write down his answer, but he never wrote any books or anything. But he says, all these universes, humans, objects, thoughts, and events are merely pictures moving on the screen of pure consciousness, which alone is real. Shapes and phenomena pass away, but conscious remains ever. And when I really relax into that space of just allowing everything to happen on the screen and not, getting attached or identified with it, and just watch as it changes. It's like a dance. It's like a play. Mm-hmm. And taking things less personally, knowing that when people are talking, generally speaking, they're usually just talking about their own mental state.
Totally.
And then I can kind of see, if I'm paying attention, I can kind of see where people are and just try to muster up some compassion and some empathy, as opposed to reacting, which is, it takes training, it takes practice, it takes discipline. You got to really work. It's like a muscle. You got to really work on it. But the more you do it, the more it becomes second nature, and life just becomes so much more easy and blessed.
It's so peaceful. Exactly.
It's so peaceful, so mellow. Oh my God. It's like, and so I'm so grateful and so thankful to just the tradition of all these incredible seers, these great, saints, and, being on Martin Luther King Day, like just these heroic beings throughout history who in really tumultuous times raised the lantern for all of us to see the way and see the path. And we're really lucky that, that there's been this recording of all these great beings who have these incredible teachings and reminders to make the journey just way more beautiful.
Yes. Thank you for sharing all of that. And, one of the clear takeaways of everything you're saying, is just the intention to stay connected, the intention to go to source, the intention to, not attach to the outer world, the intention to, be clear, the intention to be centered in yourself, and intention will take you very, very far. And I think sometimes we minimize the importance of intention. When we're trying to grow spiritually, we think we have to do another thing or buy another book. And, I'm thrilled people buy your book and my book and take my classes and your classes.
Well, my book's just like a comic book. It's just like for fun. Like it's, essentially I think you're hitting it on the head. Like it's about intention. It's about attention.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just paying attention and just noticing, watching, observing, and then relaxing.
Yes. I think the real work of the soul, really, to act in the best interest of your soul, you have to begin to be an observer of yourself. If you're just reacting, you're not doing the work. And it's so obvious when you begin to, because you go, oh, you start to see your finite self and your infinite self. I mean, that's the good news. But you start to see your own stories. You start to see your own ways you protect and defend. You see the ways you've fallen short and been stupid. And then you go.
And we all have done.
We all have those things. And then we also get to see, though, but there's more to me than all of those things and all that stuff and all that history. So I get to learn that too, So this is why we're doing what we're doing at our, our podcast channel, and me and my work, I know, and you and your work, that, we want to help people grow and evolve their soul into who they were designed to be and to live from that purpose, so that, we can join together and make the world a place we want to live. But, it all starts with us and the work of the soul. It's so simple.
Did you hear that the story of what Steve Jobs' last words were on his dying breath?
Share it with everybody. I did read that, but share it with everybody.
Well, what I understand is, as he was transitioning, the last words he said were, "Wow, oh wow."
Yes.
And I just think that oftentimes we're just seeing like a thin slice of the surface, like the facade, and
Yes.
there's just so much color and beauty and energy and feeling and spirit underneath that top layer. And that's what I love to just sit and be quiet, because I get to really drop into that deep rainbow ocean of energy, and just spinning all those wheels and feeling all those currents, rivers, creeks, streams coursing through the body, and feeling connected to nature and the stars above us and the mountains around us, and the ocean, the edge, how the earth is just being lapped with these waves, and just get a sense of space and time, and the universe, and feeling how all that expansiveness it's not just all around us, but it's inside us. And the more I relax into that, the more I just go, wow, wow.
Exactly.
It's so cool.
It's so cool. Exactly. I know. It's like you want to say to people, if you only knew how cool you were, you'd do it all the time. Yeah.
It's so, yeah, life is a beautiful journey, man. And I definitely stumbled through the dark and did a lot of dumb stuff, and,
Hmm.
but I'm thankful for the practice, because it kept me alive. It kept me going, and I'm still here. So,
Yes. Yes.
grateful.
Yes. Happy we are all on this journey together. Well, I do want to leave our listeners with one more song. Is there one you'd like to leave us with?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, you could always play Shanti if you want to peace out.
Yes. Yes. That might be a nice shavasana for our time together. But before we say goodbye, MC Yogi, thank you so much for your presence on the show today. Yeah, we loved having
Yeah, I
you.
appreciate you both. It was so nice hanging out with you, sharing some time and space, and love what you're doing, and wishing you all the best and many, many, many happy returns.
Thank you. And if there's anything we can do to support you, keep us in your thoughts. We're here to help and support you on the journey as well. So thank you so much. And friends, enjoy Shanti. Peace out.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey presented by Zen Living Realty, Supportek Staffing, and Center for the Healing Arts. This channel is also made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2021 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from R.R. Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.